Hello everybody. Monday morning, August 1st, 2016 at around 8:15 a.m. It's amazing. It's August already. Um, it's my birthday is August 27th, so I guess coming around to August triggers off all the, uh, last year. It's like the personal New Year's. I've never made a big deal of birthdays in my life, and all kinds of stuff there, why that's the case. But it probably shouldn't be that way for those people in my life, so we try and do something special for Addie every year. And her next one is coming around in not too long, because the timing is such that mine is kind of like the warning light for Addie's coming up. And certain other ones I should give some thought to. And let's see, this will be just a sort of random rambling morning, because I'm so happy with where my work is at. I'm listening to the Hydrogen Sonata, which is, for me, not in the series, but for me, the last book in the Culture series by Ian M. Banks, who passed away a few years ago because of cancer. So the series, the official series from him, is at an end. And for me, as far as new material. And it's sort of sad, because it is, I believe, and of course you feel this way about what you're reading at any time you're reading it, that this is the most significant thing I ever read. I certainly felt that way about Ready Player One, a single book, not a series, that I read shortly before that. But when I started reading the Culture series, it clicked with me that it's everything that I was looking for in, say, Isaac Asimov's Robot series, which had become a little bit, dated, still prophetic. People like to put down Asimov because he got things wrong, like, robots would be able to walk before they can talk. And people are like, oh, see, robots talk all the time, synthesized voice. But Asimov was talking about actually thinking, and we're certainly not there yet. And anyone who watches the Boston Dynamics videos that go viral, I think Google bought them. What a brilliant, interesting company. But it's those, DARPA caliber robots that just walk around and do different things. And one of them looks like a dog whose neck and head is a hand, a manipulating thing. And it's just so perfect. So robots, yes, our future. Very bright indeed, so long as all this, carbon in the atmosphere stuff and Donald Trump and whatever doesn't lead us down to an actual tipping point. The argument's made we passed a tipping point from which it's no return, because processes start cascading and it's difficult to reverse the cascading. If true, we got a real problem. If not true, if that's a little bit alarmist, and that we could step in, even in a series of cascading events, and sort of stabilize, or at least prevent, global catastrophe, I like to think that's possible. Tech can do a lot. Tech itself is exponential in nature, just as much as those tipping points. Now, of course, we don't want to release hormones into the environment and have a Cronenberg world. I've been watching Rick and Morty lately, and sort of blow it all by, introducing something into the environment that, in order to fix the problem, the old, release something that eats the somethings that eat the somethings, and now the somethings you introduced are a bigger problem. So, balance to be struck. But we got some smarts, the collective, what is that stat? You think about world population, it's just stunning. People were predicting that everything collapses at 1 billion, and it turns out that we're, passing 7 billion. And, there's bad stuff, but nothing on the order of, worldwide global famine and starvation and wars to, recalibrate that people predict. At least not on that scale. I mean, I know it always looks bad to people, but I think there's a pessimistic bias in people's outlooks. Things can be indeed very bright if you make it that way in your head, because in our 100 years or so on the planet, we're not going to see an entire chapter even all the way through. We're going to get our little glimpse into the state of things in human history, and ours is one of the most privileged that probably ever was in humankind. We're seeing the rise of computers and what computers will eventually become, which is, of course, a reflection of ourselves, for the better and for the worse. All the spectrum of what we see in ourselves, we will turn around and produce as housekeeping assistants, quality of life improvers. They'll even be our physical fitness trainers to keep us from looking like things in the WALL-E movie. Yeah, so Ian M. Banks, The Culture Series. Boy, do I wish I read that as a youth instead of The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, the Unbeliever. One does have to be hardened to life too. One has to wallow in fatalism for some phase in their life in order to know what that's like too. But on the whole, I like the Culture Series, and I like the very Star Trek times 1000, way beyond Star Trek. If you think, think about reaching that Star Trek space anomaly bubble level of evolution where you transcend and go off, but holding on to the fact you're still human and not allowing yourself to transcend into some fourth spatial dimension super being, because you're not done here in the real yet, and life is interesting and there's still a lot of experience to be had before cashing it in or cashing out for another game, as interesting as it might be to do that for other cultures that they don't begrudge for doing it. But in the meantime, there are a bunch of super smart robot ships and a bunch of humans flying around on them having adventures. That's The Culture. I highly recommend it. I'll probably introduce Addie to it at some point if it doesn't become her generation's Isaac Asimov, looking kind of antiquated and quaint in comparison to the new stuff being written. I also like Boar Maker. That'll be another video. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.